Great. So without further ado, let's get started, guys. Click it through. So welcome to our coaching network. We are trying a new way for tracking attendance this year at the state support team. So our attendance is done, yes, it's captured in Zoom as well, but our attendance will be done during this, using this QR code or this link. So somebody's going to drop that into the chat now. Thank you. So please head over there and take a minute to sign yourselves in. And we'll continue to drop that in the chat for those people still joining. If you're also interested in the slides from today's presentation, which I think you might want to be because there's lots of links embedded as we go along. The presentation link is here and it's also available on a QR code if that's easier for you to grab. And we'll drop that into the chat. So the purpose of this network, and for those of you that joined our network last year, we've really been thinking about what was the benefit of gathering people together last year and again this year for talking about PBIS. And so we really want this space to be a place that we're helping schools not only develop but maintain PBIS efforts. We know that something sounds really easy on paper, and then when you get to implementation with everything else that is going on in a building during the day and during a week, it's hard to maintain efforts. And so we really want this to be a spot where people collectively come together, discuss what's going on, share best practices, and problem solve. So we hope to bring that to you this year monthly. Here at State Support Team and at ESC, we have hired a lot of new faces. So I'm sure those of you on the call are probably, I'm going to hear about this later for putting those biopics into this slide. But these are the people that will be supporting this network and supporting you in your buildings throughout the year. So we have Anthony Pizzuti. You'll hear from him in a little bit. He's our regional field coordinator, and that is a position that is developed to support 4 SSTs in a lot of counties in Ohio in PBIS implementation across the state. There's only 4 in the state, and we're really lucky that Anthony is here with us today. We've got 4 of us that are on the PBIS and school climate work group at State Support Team. We're all here in the room today, so if our owl is working correctly, you can see us all. I'm Stephanie Denham. It's really nice to meet a lot of new people this year. Jillian Alley is new to our team this year. She's waving. She's going to be a big support to early childhood and Tier 3. Brian Callahan is here, a former administrator, and we're so lucky to have him. He recently came as an administrator from secondary levels, and those of you in middle school and high school know that sometimes there's different challenges with PBIS implementation at that level. And we've got Tom Hinchek, who's going to be supporting our Tier 3, and some of you may have seen him just this week supporting and facilitating our strengthening Tier 1 session as well. Okay, we also have ESC partners, which we're really happy about the collaboration that all of our trainings and this coaching network are going to be co-presented. And so we've got Linda Blanche. Linda, I think you were here. Good morning if you're on the call. And then we've got Megan, Erica, and Miki. So we just wanted you to see these names. You may be having any of these people support, and you'll definitely see them in our presentations and in our coaching network this year. So I wanted to start just with this little article that resonated. We are not going to read it, but if you're interested in it, there's a link in the header there about network. What is its net worth? And really gave me pause, and I had bookmarked it for today's session and really went back to it last night. About the importance of networking, especially
try to send it to you
during hard times like in the pandemic. And what we've learned is that we really need people and collective mindset to help us bring us through hard times or problem-solving situations. And so this last little sentence here really stood out to me. The net worth of networks is what the collective invests in them, and that the lesson has helped me become more respectful and more grateful for their existence. So we're really grateful that you're here today, and I look forward to seeing how this network continues to grow throughout the year. Every month when you come onto these calls, you can expect to see a really similar format. So we're always going to start with some sort of welcome and give you state PBIS updates. Then we're going to get into a focused TFI item review. We learned a lot in our region from the last batch of PBIS recognition awards and scoring of the TFI across our county. And so what we've done is really mapped out range of TFI items for tier 1 and tier 2, knowing that the tier 3 training is going to be rolled out this year. So today we're going to be talking about behavior expectations, how to teach those, and then when you're implementing at a tier 2 level, how do you ensure that access is still given to the tier 1 supports? Every month when you get on the calls, you will hear from a building or district spotlight that has received recognition in this past year. So we're so happy to have the internal facilitator for PBIS, Hendrik, here from Euclid City Schools. He'll be sharing with us. And then we really want this to be a network. So we really want you guys discussing and sharing with each other. So we'll always have breakout rooms with some choice of topic and Java-like teams. So early childhood and elementary folks can gather, secondary folks will gather. Then we'll wrap up with a little review, give you a sneak peek of what to expect at the next month. So you can maybe nudge a colleague and bring more along. And then the last half hour, 10 to 10:30, all are welcome to stay, but we really wanted to give a space for district leadership. We know that there's unique considerations when you think about scalability in a district. We have 3 district awards here in Cuyahoga County, and we're looking to grow that as we think about district implementation. So that last half hour is made to really network district leadership together. So without further ado, I'm going to kick it over to Anthony. That's going to get us thinking and talking this morning about what PBIS implementation looks like in your buildings.
Thank you, Stephanie. So hi, everyone. I'm Anthony Pizzuti. I'm the RFC for regions 2, 3, 4, and 5. So happy to join you. And I also want to say that I've been so impressed with all the great work coming out of region 3. It's wonderful to see all the buildings scaling up their implementation. And it's wonderful to see all these faces here learning more to help your building and your district move forward as well. So the icebreaker today, on the next image, on the next slide, we're going to look at a gallery. And if you can, pick an image that represents how you're feeling about PBI in your role at the start of this school year. So let's take a look at the images. Okay, so we have 9 images. So take a moment. How are you feeling? And in a minute, we're going to ask some folks just to unmute, maybe raise their hand and jump on and just kind of connect that picture with how you're feeling. So
which photo represents how you're feeling, Jackson?
So let's check it out. I hear Heather, are you unmuting to share? Nope.
I am so sorry. I thought I was on mute. Actually,
That's
driving.
Driving.
I started from an appointment, so I apologize. I was asking him which one does he feel like he relates to. So I'm sorry. I should not be sharing right now because I'm driving.
Oh, okay. No worries.
Good morning, Heather. It's Stephanie. Good morning.
Good morning, Stephanie. I'm just listening as I drive him to school and then get back to my school after his appointment. Sorry, guys.
You're okay.
So I'm Audrey Sercel. I'll go ahead and share. And I feel like the puzzle piece, except I feel like maybe only 2 or 3 or 4 are connected right now. I have more unconnected than connected right now.
Audrey, thank you for sharing. And what school or school district are you with, Audrey?
Orange City Schools.
Thank you, Audrey.
Hi there, I'll go next. Hi, my name's Pam, and I am in Cleveland Heights, University Heights Elementary, and I'm brand new, not new to counseling, but new to the school and new to our PBIS team. And I picked the little girl who is blowing the dandelion, and I interpret that as like I'm making a wish that I will catch on to how things are so that I feel like I can get a grasp on how PBIS is going here at my school and how we implement it, and so that I can be part of the team. Because right now I'm at the very beginning. So I'm wishing and hoping that I get caught up soon.
Wonderful, Pam. And thank you for sharing. Yes, we're all here together. That's why this network is going to work for us. You're going to learn a lot. And one thing I always say, PBIS is a marathon. It's not a sprint. So there's always someone, especially in our region, that can help you through that. We're a phone call and email away, plus all your colleagues in your CHUH. You're in good hands here, Pam. So thank you for sharing.
Great, thanks.
I'll
And
share.
oh, thank you.
Oh.
Go ahead, Beth.
Hi, I can't see myself. I'm Cheryl Walton, and I am supporting the district in Cleveland Heights. And I am also new to this role. I'm not new to PBIS, but I am new to this role that I'm in this year. And the picture that I'm thinking of is the person holding the little seedling in his hand, because I think of PBS as something that is growing. And I think that as time goes by, we'll learn more about it. Everyone will be on board and the program will just grow. And if we are intentional about it and use it with fidelity, that we'll see a lot of positive results and impact on kids.
Awesome, Cheryl. You said so many cool things, and I heard the word fidelity. And you're going to hear more about that word, especially when we talk about PBS implementation. And absolutely, it is a seed. We're constantly and continually to improve it. We're never there, so we never could say, hey, we did PBS and we're done with that. It's always evolving. So I thank you for that. And I'm using that seed analogy. What an awesome picture. And before I move over to Stephanie, is there anyone else that would like to share as well? Or any picture we have?
I would like to share.
We have
and
two more.
I do too.
And Ms. Morris. Okay, thank you. This
I
is
don't know.
awesome.
She can go first. I'll go next, Betsy. Are you sure? Okay.
Um,
I'm positive.
I'm Betsy Race. I am counselor at Boulevard. Pam, nice to see a face that I haven't met yet. So I'm between two pictures. The one where they're pulling the rope and the one where her head is under a big rock. And I guess I'm not normally negative. Jillian, I know you're on here. Cheryl, you both know me well. I'm actually on medical leave because I had some surgery, hence a backdrop of my home and a big ice pack on my foot right now. And so that's the rock on my head, because it's hard to really jump into PBIS when you're at home right now, hoping it's happening without you. We've taken on some initiatives, and the pulling of the rope is realizing, oh, Jillian, people are not happy with only positive points for PBIS. And so we're kind of I'm going to call it a tug right now. And I think we can only grow from that, but I know it just presents that mountain in front of us that we're working through.
Absolutely. Thank you, Betsy, and hope you feel better soon.
Thank you.
Yes, PBIS, sometimes we feel like we're moving one step forward and two steps back. And oftentimes we just keep moving, keep moving, and keeping that momentum going is a huge part of the team. And I know in our network, we'll get into more of kind of those strategies and considerations, but thank you so much for sharing and using that tug of war analogy. And last but not least, is it Ms. Norris?
Yes, that would be me. Hi,
Thank
my
you.
name is Mrs. Norris. I'm over at Warner Girls Leadership Academy for Cleveland Metropolitan School District. I am in the planning center where we do behavior intervention. So that definitely, the PBIS is definitely something that I'm trying to learn to implement here at our school. I picked the flower that's growing because I feel like we're growing our girls into positive leaders here at our school. We are at an all-girls school, so we do have, actually this year we have a PBIS team. So there's a few of my co-workers on here with me as well. So we're starting our first meeting today with you guys, and we're looking forward to, you know, continuing doing some more of your trainings that you have to offer for us.
Wonderful, Ms. Norris. Thank you for joining, and you are in the right spot too as well. And it is definitely a seed and it's a garden. And so we're going to saturate it with a lot of positivity, and we're going to learn our framework, and we're going to keep supporting you in making your school the best you can make it, and making that climate as warm and supportive as possible. And you have great folks here, and I'm going to turn it back over to Stephanie, and thank you for allowing me to share out and do the icebreaker.
I'm actually sharing it right back to you, friend. The next thing up, sorry, Anthony. The next thing up is our state PBIS updates.
Awesome. Okay, so you got a little more of Anthony. That's fine. I love it. The state updates. For anyone new to PBIS, every year there's an opportunity to apply for recognition. And since about 2015, the state has grown in the number of awards distributed and received. And so this year has been our highest total. It's a lot of work. We give a lot of work and credit to the school teams that are applying and doing the work. A lot of credit is due to the state support teams and the ESDs who are helping coach those buildings through the process. Typically around May is when it's due. And there is 2 requirements besides the application that you complete. There is the TFI score, and currently it's at 70% or higher on each tier, tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. If you're just applying for bronze, it's a 70% on your tier 1 score. If you're applying for silver, it's a 70% on both tier 1 and tier 2 on your TFI score. And tier 3, if you're applying for gold, you have to have 70% or higher on all 3 tiers. So this year, across the state, we've had 375 total award winners. And that includes 359 buildings that are recognized, either as a bronze, silver, or gold status. And we had 16 district-wide award winners as well. Every year, the state does review the application process and look to tweak it at some point. And by you being on the state network, you're going to hear as much information as we have to share out so that you can stay updated as possible. The 3 updates that I'd like to share that seem to be moving towards that direction right now, and I'm always hesitant to say it's official until it's official, but right now, across the state, we're looking at having electronic submissions only. Each region in the past had an opportunity to either do paper or pencil, like binders, or electronic submission. And right now we're seeing the trend or the information come to allude to more of electronic submission only. So that means you'll apply your evidence and your application electronically. Also, and the reason is because I think the state is moving towards cross state support team review teams to review applications. So the reviews, even if you're in region 3, will not be completed by region 3. It could be completed by another region. So electronically, if all those applications are in there, that could be pulled easily so that another region can review that application and that evidence. And the last thing that the state is looking at is calibrating the required evidence. So, and that's across all 3 tiers. And I think that the move is to make it a little bit more consistent with everyone utilizing the same information to support a TFI item, but also maybe to simplify it a little bit more. And that's something that the state has heard a lot of, is saying, let's make this a little bit more simplified, not only for the SST review teams, but really for the districts and the buildings. So those are the 3 things I wanted to share, but each meeting that we come together, I can share a little bit more with you as I hear and as the state support team folks, both Linda Blanche and Stephanie Denham are both on the network. So we're able to all share out kind of like any kind of insights that we're hearing across the state. And then around January, February, those applications will be posted to be shared out to the region and to the state, so you can begin looking at that as well. So we'll keep you updated as we learn more. But I'm going to turn it back over to Stephanie for some more specific regional updates in Region 3.
I was thinking about being like, no, Anthony, this is still you, but it's not, I'll take it over. You know, Anthony's right. One of the things that we really wanted to do with this monthly coaching network is give you those updates. I just want to acknowledge that what you see on the slide is a very big accomplishment for the buildings that are just one number on these. Those of you that have applied for recognition, district leadership that has supported the buildings, it's a big lift. And last year it came with some challenges, changing guidance very late in the game, changing formats for some of you that have gone from hard binders to electronic submissions. So we're really proud of the buildings that have applied. We just found out last week at a state network meeting that the number that you see represented in Cuyahoga County here on the slide is the second highest among all 16 state support teams across the state of Ohio. And that is because of the work that you guys are doing. So we look to grow this every year. And so as you guys, you know, strengthen your implementation, we look forward to adding you to our list. We have the full list available on our website. And I know I also put a link there in the chat or on the screen as well. Okay, if we could drop that in the chat. So what we've done with that recognition is Jillian has really taken it and brought it to the next level here at our organization. So we can use it as a better support back for this coaching network and our support for districts. So Jillian's going to show now just a little bit of the analysis that we have done here, looking at all of the applications that we received, not just the award winning, but all of them that came across our desks last year, which was over, I believe, 65. I'm looking at Kathy. I think it was over 65 that we received.
So what we did is we just took all of the applications that came in for recognition last year. And we wanted to acknowledge all the districts and all the schools that put the applications in, even if they didn't necessarily at this time earn that recognition, because it's the amount of the work and that heavy lift that Stephanie was talking about that was done. And one of the nice things, I took all of the scores from those rubrics and we got an average regionally of where we are all together. So if you look at Cuyahoga County in terms of all that recognition that went in, I took the 3 areas that we're focusing on during this network currently, which is 1.3, 1.4, and then for tier 2, 2.8. And so here, this slide shows all the applications of the average score. So whether or not they earned recognition or didn't earn recognition regionally, those that applied, this is our average. And you can see, even if it wasn't a building that received recognition, we as a region are doing really well in terms of understanding behavioral expectations. We have a 1.8. And then it gets a little bit tougher at teaching expectations. And then even for those who apply for tier 2, you know, a 1.5 for that's that access for tier 1 supports even well, still in tier 2. So if you want to go to the next slide. This delves a little bit deeper in the sense of now we're looking at specifically what was applied for. So if you look at this first one is bronze, so it's all the districts that were just applying for bronze in terms of tier 1 and where they fell in the same expectations on the same features of the TFI. What you can see in terms of when you start moving up those tiers in implementing PBIS, how much stronger subsequent tiers make the 1.3 and 1.4. And so that's one of those things that as you're looking beyond tier 1 and going into tier 2 is understanding how that strengthening that tier 1 is really necessary to get an even a stronger base to that triangle. Now, just so you understand that the red is the average for all people who applied. The orange is the average for those who did end up getting recognition at that tier. And then the blue is those that applied but did not happen to get recognition this year. So, for those who did not get recognition this year, you know, those are still some areas of where some strength lies that you can go ahead and work towards making the other areas within the TFI strength and stronger so that you can apply this year and get that recognition.
Thank you, Jillian. So for those of you that are maybe new to the tiered fidelity inventory, We've provided a link on this slide, and it is the Fidelity tool. That's a national tool for PBIS implementation. So, you know, we know that many of you on this call are very familiar with the TFI, have just completed cycles of your TFI analysis at your building level. If you are new to it, we really encourage you to look at that. I don't see this going away as a tool used in the state of Ohio to look at implementation. And it really has been a grounding document for recognition, even though changes may change, you know, a little bit in that recognition process. If you are familiar with the TFI and you want to kick it up a notch, we also want to make sure that you have seen the cultural responsiveness field guide. So this is something that we're going to be embedding into all of our presentations and or coaching network, and you'll see that in a minute. But what this is it has taken every item for tier 1 and done a culturally responsive elaboration. Okay, so this is another great tool, and you'll see more about that in a minute. Brian, thank you. I see you're catching up in the chat, and you're keeping up in the chat, and I appreciate that. The next document that's a really good one to have is an action plan. Those of you that have gone through the state training for tier 1, you're familiar with that scale up action plan. This is another one that really, when you get going into the building and your building has built your framework, this is a good one that will really help you year by year score yourself on that tiered fidelity inventory and keep track of what is my priority next and what are we going to do about it. Some of the strongest examples I've seen in coaching will either keep all of their text in there and they'll either strike through it or they'll color code when they've made changes. And so when you get new people onto the team, Pam, I'm thinking about what you shared this morning already. You can see a log of what we've done as a team throughout the building, aligned to all of these anchors and these items in the tiered fidelity inventory. So you can catch people up on your team pretty quickly. So we wanted to make sure that you knew that was available. The link there will bring you to the original source, which is available in a Word doc. So you can just upload it and use it as a Google Doc. Okay. So I'm going to go pretty quickly.
Can I ask real quick?
Yes.
Is it okay to
please.
ask a question? For the action plan, can we, if we click on it, does that take us, can we get to our own districts or buildings, or do we ask at a building level?
That's a great question. So because I'm the support for CHUH, I know that answer, and I think Paul is on the call, and Cheryl, you have a version of that action plan already in your shared drive for the PBIS district resources. Because you're new, we got to make sure that you have access to that. But what your district has done is made a copy of that action plan for all of your buildings, and they already have that started.
Great.
Okay, so we'll just have to make sure that you're added in there.
Perfect. Thanks.
Okay, great question. So what we're going to look at now is expectations in teaching. And you guys know, because you're in buildings with real life kids, that when they come back after summer break, this is a time to really look at grounding expectations and think about how are we teaching these explicitly to our students. There was an article here that I've linked as well about effective instruction is a protective factor. And when we think about students that are really coming back from the pandemic and really need some social emotional supports, 3 things that this article listed are really can counteract the stress that they're experiencing. 1 is explicitly teaching positive expectations and social emotional skills. The second is having high expectations for all kids. And 3rd is using explicit instruction. Now, those of you in Cuyahoga County that are doing work with Anita Archer, that language is familiar, and we're just asking you to use that same I do, we do, you do when you think about behavior instruction. So when you look at the TFI, this is a tier 1, which is in that little graphic on the top right. It's reminding you that this is a tier 1 strategy. We're really reminded that less is more when you think about expectation language. So this item says to have a score of a 2 on the tiered fidelity inventory, that 5 or fewer of those expectations exist. They should be positive stated, they should be posted and identified for specific settings. What you're seeing here is an example from Shiloh Middle School. We've pulled together some examples from the region, and as soon as I get sharing permission for all of them, we're going to release a warehouse where all of these are stored. But we wanted you to see some examples as we go along of what it looks like in our county. Now, if you've already scored really high on the TFI, which I know some of you on the call have, and you're thinking, we already have this done, why is she talking about it again? I'm going to encourage you to think about that culturally responsive elaboration. So when you look at your expectations, are they reflected on the cultural values of your students and your families and their communities? The culturally responsive field guide gives this, what they call an examination activity about the matrix. And I love the questions, you know, are they meaningful and important to you? If not, why do you think that should be? Are there values that you want your children at home? And, you know, we really hear a lot of times, I have a family member on the team. What am I supposed to do? What do we do with the family member? How do we really engage them in a meaningful way? And so this is a good idea to kind of maybe start the conversation of, as you walk our building and see these expectations, react to them for us. Okay. Once you have those expectations set, you're going to then explicitly teach them. Okay. You see here another example of a formal lesson plan. And what we're looking for here is that there's a formal system with a schedule to teach behaviors. When are we going to talk about hallway behavior? When are we going to talk about how our students arrive and what they do at dismissal? Okay. To start, we recommend that all of it is taught at the beginning of the year, and then you're going to really let your data speak about where your high frequency behaviors are happening. And those are usually the locations for your first booster lessons as we go along. When you think about the culturally responsive elaboration for this one is really looking at the differing potentially expectations about what happens at school, what happens at home. How you talk to your friends may not be how you talk to the principal. Okay. And so the tool and resource that we're giving you here to look at is a personal matrix. They call it a behavior dictionary. And it's really a good one to examine again, the difference potentially in the language that your students and families may be bringing at home to the school environment and what those expectation language are there. We're not going to watch this, but I couldn't, Anthony, you and I love this video. I couldn't not put it in. This is really worth the 7 minutes for you to watch again. And it's Rita Pearson. You guys know and love her probably from Every Kid Needs a Champion, but she's really talking about the mama rule is what she calls it. And when she says, you know, when challenging behaviors are happening and kids are saying, well, my mom said fight back. My mom said stand up for myself. You know, the first thing that she does is she calls and says, I respect the rules you have at home, but I need some help here at school to keep everybody safe. And so this video really talks about that behavior dictionary that was on the first slide, about some of those cultural differences and how to support those as your PBIS implementation team. It's really wanting me to watch this video. Okay, so for tier 2, right, we know that it's really important to still keep that access to instruction. And this was some information from Missouri that was brought that, you know, when we think about implementing at a universal level, when we really explicitly teach, you're going to have less of a need for tier 2. Ashley, I've got your face in my mind as you think about that struggle for tier 2, because teachers will often say, or buildings will often say, we've got a tier 2 need, we've got to address it. Well, the first thing we say is it's more teaching, right? It's going back to those lesson plans. It's more opportunities for guided practice. It's more opportunities for feedback. And so thinking about those effective teaching practices that we use at all tiers to provide that continuum of learning. Okay, making sure that students aren't pulled out for that core instruction, just like we talk in academics. So access to tier 2 or tier 1 supports, one of the ways that we see it is shown on this slide as an example, is putting your expectation language right on your daily progress report. So if students are using check and check out, how are we using that language consistently to give feedback to students? Okay, you can lift the replacement behavior right from your matrix and really make sure that when you're checking in with kids throughout the day, that language is consistent. Okay, so I know that's a lot, but we've asked Euclid City Schools, Hendrick, to come and just break down for us, okay, that all sounds great in the TFI, but what does it really mean to do that in a building and district? So without further ado, I'm gonna kick it over to Hendrick, and I'm gonna make sure you have sharing permissions. Thank you.
Right, I had to take a phone call.
Hi, are we waiting for someone to start the discussion? You're muted.
I think so. Where are you guys all from? I'm from Richmond Heights. We started PBIS a few years ago, didn't really do much with it during COVID, and now we're trying to start up again this year.
I'm from Warner Girls Leadership. I think the same thing here was already started, but just trying to restart it and implement it after COVID and get things back to normal. And then a few of my team members are here. It's about 5 of us.
Yeah, I'm also from Warner. And I would agree with that statement. Yeah, we're pretty much in the same spot.
Yeah, I'm from Cleveland Heights, University High Schools. This is my first year on the PBIS team. I'm in the Tiger Virtual Academy.
Did anyone open up the discussion questions that was in the chat?
I just dropped it in the chat as well. So it should pop up. That should take you to that Padlet, which the questions they're organized by columns. So us being tier 1 for middle school, high school, it should be that middle column, and just kind of guiding questions for the discussion and just seeing where people are and how you're feeling with it. Kind of gets the ball rolling with some of those. Can I share my screen? I might be able to just pull it up too.
What are you guys thinking as you saw those questions or you heard Hendrick speak? Gabrielle, I saw you go off mute. I didn't mean to. I think we both were jumping in at the same time. Go ahead. I apologize.
No, you're fine. I mean, I was just gonna go kind of I was looking at the first question. I also wanted to say we have a fire drill at 10:15, so I'm gonna have to drop off at that point. Just when I'm disappearing.
Make sure
I what's that?
Just make sure you're on mute by then, okay?
Oh, okay, I'll do my best. I was actually thinking it would be great if we started off this year with a conversation with our students. I teach at the high school, and our high school and middle school are combined. And I know that they had some kind of like come to Jesus talk at the beginning of the year, but I'm not sure how positive it was. And I know that we didn't teach behaviors, and I'm wondering if it's too late at this point to start with the beginning of the year type of conversation, since we're halfway through the first quarter. So that's just kind of where my head was.
Just to add off of I don't think it's ever too late, but I think that might be a time to start with practicing, like anytime we come in from a break, reteaching whatever those things are that the expectations that they should have, like after Christmas break, after spring break, like no matter what time of the year it is, it's nothing that we should ever just implement in the beginning and say, okay, we already did this. Always a refresher. So like you said, even though you didn't do it at the beginning, we can still go ahead and do it now and then just keep up with it from there.
Yeah, I would add to that. I mean, I like that conversation because, coming from building administration last year into this new role, I know a lot of districts had to do a hard reset in which they had to reteach the behaviors and the expectations coming in. And I think a lot of it was coming off the pandemic, and depending on what district you're in, whether you were remote completely or you're hybrid. And now last year it seemed to be quote unquote more traditional in being in the building. So having students that were coming back that might not have been in a building for 2.5 years was extremely difficult for a lot of people. So I think you're right on that point of it's never too late, and keep revisiting those expectations. So I like that. I mean, if anyone else has anything to add to that, I'm going to share my screen to some of those questions. I mean, otherwise this should just be very organic in how we have this conversation. So if anyone else wants to go ahead and share or add, feel free to. I'm going to share the screen.
I kind of love the idea of a documented teaching schedule, like where you're revisiting it and everybody's revisiting it at the same time. That's not something that we've implemented yet, but seeing that, it makes complete sense. And I think as a team, it's something that we can communicate, to the staff at the school and kind of set up for the rest of this year after breaks, and then into next year.
Has anyone in the group done a set teaching schedule at a middle or high school? Sarah, I agree. And the other good thing I think at secondary levels, when you do that set teaching schedule, is you can really streamline your acknowledgement too. Instead of like teachers teach all this and acknowledge all this, you can really like zero in, especially on an area where your data says you need to zero in. And then when it works, you can go back to your staff and say, we had a drop in our referrals in this location, and this is why. So now we're bringing it over here. So it really is a nice way to like make it a little bit more manageable. Any other thoughts?
We just wanted to share that over here at Warner. We did create a matrix actually at the end of last year. So we have a matrix for the cafeteria, we have one for the bathroom, we have one in the classroom and in the halls. So all classrooms have a matrix in them. I'm not sure if teachers are like revisiting that with Fidelity every week or so, but we also have like small constant rewards. We have calling a habit, which teachers can write up students can write up students that they see caught displaying some of the expectations from our behavior matrix. We have a woohoo wagon where we go around with music on a wagon and it's like rewards. So even if it's like, okay, we didn't revisit it this week, but students can still see others being rewarded and say, you know what, hey, let me get my act together so I can be caught in a habit as well. And then we had like outline field trips and things that when we had our PBIS assembly earlier this year, students are aware of like the goals that they're trying to reach. We have a bulletin board in the hallway that's like a constant reminder as well, where we post the names of students who've been caught. So like that, as well as, you know, revisiting it should boost levels.
I love that idea of students acknowledging students. It's great. I see you, Ms. Norris. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm also at Warner as well. And in addition to us catching our scholars in a habit, we are coming up this school year with catching our parents in a habit as well. So we are looking for our parents to model the same behavior that we expect our students to model here in our school as well. So now we have incentives where once those parents are caught in a habit, they can come and pick incentive off our woohoo wagon as well.
I love it. Out of curiosity, how are you going to roll that out? Like, how do you tell the families that that's a thing now?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch what was said.
Okay, are you guys in the same room? Yeah. I'm realizing.
We're sitting at desks.
Ms. Norris was in a very cool sunroom with a
I
big,
know, right?
that I see you guys looking at each other. How are you going to inform the families about this option for acknowledgement?
Were we actually going to do a newsletter and post it on Class Dojo? A lot of our parents, we almost have 100% of our parents connected on Class Dojo. So they'll be able to see that introduction of what our expectations are and how they can actually earn a caught in a habit here from one of the staff members.
Is that newsletter, is that also in, is that electronically, or do you send it home with students?
It will be both.
Okay.
Now Dojo, Class Dojo is electronic. It's almost like a Facebook for, you know, parents and staff as well. So we do a lot of posts on there. We're also trying to do weekly posts of something that's, you know, positive behavior, the SEL, the 5 core competencies of social and emotional learning. And again, we also teach the 7 habits of highly effective kids, which I do believe now there is 8 habits instead of 7.
Oh. I didn't hear that. That's big. People are gonna have to repaint their walls.
Oh, yeah.
Any other thoughts? I don't know how we're doing on time, but we got like 1 more minute. Any other thoughts, or are there anything that we think we can bring back to the big group for sharing?
Yeah, maybe the main thing is like to reteach and revisit these things, like pick a schedule where everyone's on board and school-wide revisit, like revisit.
Yeah, and I would add to that, just with the experience and maybe the school year is off to a better start than maybe what a lot of people experienced last year, but you know, what Hendrik was talking about, having teachers carve out some time and in specific classes, whether that's teachers reteaching it, whether that's a coach going in there and helping out to, you know, go over expectations. It's definitely a good strategy. Not only does it help have the students understand like, hey, this is a priority for our building, but also, you know, a lot of teachers feel that angst and sometimes worry when it feels like, hey, is the building getting out of control? And we need either district support or building level support. So being able to be in there in those classrooms and help present, or, you know, show that you're united with your teachers and your students, I think that really helps have that message go across throughout the building. So just a strategy to think. I know Hendrik brought it up, and I think that is it's a good move to have like those mini lessons throughout. One time, so.
Okay, guys, so thank you. You know, as we go along in this monthly coaching network, we hope you return each month and share back. You know, we did create a teaching schedule, or we had our families show up and get acknowledgement. So we're really looking forward to seeing you every month, and we'll just continue to share some ideas. But I see someone raised a hand.
Are we ever going to have them in person, or will they continue to be Zoom?
That is a good question. So we set the option for in-person and Zoom, and only a handful of people wanted in person. And so knowing that we wanted to do the breakout rooms, we kind of wanted to just have, if it's 3 breakout rooms virtually and then 3 here, we didn't know how best to handle that for just a handful of people that wanted to come in person. So I think the next one will probably stay virtual, and then we can revisit if we get the same people and everyone, you want to come in person. Is that what you're saying?
I'm sorry, I'm over here trying to mute us out before one of us speak. And my video's gone. Okay, so yes, the only reason we signed up for the virtual one because it wasn't that long, but I noticed that there was some that would be a lot longer. And we would love to come in. You guys are not too far from us, right around the corner, actually. So we would like to come.
Great. Maybe what we can do is, you know, stay virtual for the next couple months, and then really when recognition comes out and we have a lot more to share, we can maybe do an extended one and do it in person. I would love to bring you guys in person. Tom presented this week in person, and it was so nice to see people in a room together. And so that is the ideal. And thank you for letting us know that your thoughts are kind of interested in that. It's helpful.
You're welcome.
Okay, we're gonna go back to the big group.
Yep.
Brian, you shooting us back over?
I will.
Guys, have everybody back? Okay, so we just have about a minute or two. Any thoughts that you want to put into the big group? Great ideas that were shared, something that kind of stretched your thinking that is beneficial for everybody to hear.
I'll share from the elementary. This is Heather from Garrity and Cleveland Heights, University Heights. We talked about making sure that we're utilizing our expectation language at our building. And for us, it's the pause. We have pause expectations. There's 4 expectations. We've talked about like utilizing that, in all aspects of our teaching. So in our social emotional lessons, like using my second step lessons, but using pause language with our second step curriculum and meshing those, utilizing that with our conscious discipline or our restorative practice circles or morning meetings, making sure that we're utilizing that language. So it's coming from all directions, from the counselor, from the administrator, from the teachers. And so we're all using that language, especially when we're reteaching, but then also in the daily planned scheduled lessons, making sure to use that, and that it's not a separate entity from SEL or programs like restorative practices or conscious discipline.
couldn't agree more, Heather. Well said. Thank you. I felt like my head was gonna fall off. I was like very encouragingly nodding to you. It is, it's, you know, we get sick of the language, I think, sometimes as adults, but when we hit that amount of repetition, it's about right, especially for young learners that need that consistency and repetition. When you get to middle school and high school, you know, the kids see a lot of adults. And so if the language is the same, then that just helps reinforce those behaviors even more. So thank you, Heather. Any other ideas? We had a secondary group and we had a tier 2, tier 3 group. Not, I'm going to encourage you guys to put those ideas into the Padlet, and that'll continue to grow as we go along. I'll give one more awkward silent break. Well, thank you everyone for sharing such good ideas. You know, someone in our group had set this up perfectly, that they really like the idea of a teaching schedule at a secondary level. And so we were talking about what that could look like. And we are going to have a regional warehouse. You know, to be honest, it's developed, but I want to make sure that we have permission from all of the schools that are featured in there for now, before posting. So be patient with us. We're gonna send emails out, make sure that everyone sees that and gives our permission. And then because we have your sign-in information, you'll be the first to get the sneak peek of what we're calling a regional warehouse of all those examples. Every month when you come then, you'll continue to see examples from the TFI items that we have, okay? So last but not least, we're coming into the home stretch here. We have an evaluation link. Your feedback really does matter to us. We were just asked the very good question of, can we come back in person anytime soon? And so we're really going to be looking to you guys for feedback as we go along about how you want this network to be. You know, we structured it this way, but we're going to continually look to you for areas for improvement. So please send us some feedback through that link. And if there's any other thoughts that don't fit nicely into that link, thank you, Shantae, thank you, Brian, for putting that in. You guys know you can contact us or your PBIS consultants as we go along. The October session will be on team structures. And what I'd like to do for now is keep that all virtual. And then we'll reevaluate in October, and maybe in November, we can do kind of a gathering, maybe every other month or so, but let's keep October virtual. We're gonna get really good at the technology, guys. It's gonna be seamless. Don't even worry about it. And we are going to be talking about team structures. So who's on your team? How do your team meeting agendas look? What are roles and responsibilities? How is your tier 1 team different than your tier 2, tier 3 teams? Like, what do we do with all these people and all this stuff? And so that's what we're going to be tackling in October. Okay, so the date is October 20th. We're going to put the link in the chat now. If you have not yet registered, please do so before you forget. We would love to see you there. And it will be 9 to 10, although I did not do a good job of that today. It will be 9 to 10 or 10:30. Next time. Okay, so at this time, we're going to sign off unless you guys would like to stay on. We're going to kind of continue to roll into our district leadership talk. But in case you hop off, we really, on behalf of the SST, we got a full room of consultants here that are excited to be learning with you guys. And I just want to thank everybody for prioritizing this meeting today. I know it's hard, and we're thrilled to see that 41 of you have made this time on your schedule for us to share. So thank you, thank you. Okay, so considering district leadership as we're thinking about behavior expectations and teaching, we sometimes get the question of like, what is my role as district leadership? And we got a lot of new district leaders, I think, this year in our region. And so I just gave you some information from the Missouri handbook. If you are new, you should know that the state of Ohio has partnered with Missouri as kind of an affiliate. Anthony, I'm looking to you like for language, like an affiliate state. So they're one of our external thought partners that sits on the state network with us to think about our statewide implementation.
Yeah, they pretty much are, I want to say are a technical assistance or guide. And so we look to them for a lot of advice and kind of best practices.
Thank you. And so they've given some guidance on what does district PBIS leadership look like? Okay. I hesitated to put number one as funding because I know everybody on the call is probably their least favorite question of who's going to support this? What can I do? But funding is a big one. Visibility to school and community members to support PBIS. Coordinating staff and thinking about who's going to be coaching this at the buildings. Training is a big one. I know a lot of us have talked with you guys about how do we build in training, especially now with so many competing priorities in a district. You got one PD day, and how do we fit everything we need in? How do we make sure that PBIS is still a priority? And then conducting consistent evaluations across schools, whether that's the tiered fidelity inventory, school climate surveys, self-assessment surveys. And so that's all I wanted to bring you is just a little bit of information to get you thinking. But I really just want to open it up for you guys to introduce yourselves to each other. And what district are you in? How long have you been in that role? And then the first question is really, you know, when you saw those roles, how similar or different is your current take on it as to those that you saw?
Well, my name is Paul Rosinko, Coordinator of Student Services here for University Heights City School District. I've been in this role for 3 years now. We are successfully building a nice foundation of PBIS across the district. It's not new to Cleveland Heights, but we're definitely implementing with more fidelity than we were. So that is the big takeaway here for Heights. The other piece is just with the roles of the 5 steps they identified with purpose of district leaders for PBIS. Those are a good 5. Leadership to ensure they have a handle on.
And Paul, you are breaking up. So you said in terms of district PBIS to get a handle on what? Can you say that last part again? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You know, just the 5 actions or areas of identification that you identify for district leadership. I couldn't agree more. You need to have a good handle on all of those 5.
Got it. Thank you, Paul. If you don't want to unmute, if you don't mind putting in the chat where you're from, it would be helpful for us to see who's on the call doing this district level work.
Hi, guys. I'm Christina Delaney. So I'm coming from Medina County. New to Shaker this year, started after Labor Day, so getting started a little late, picking up the pieces. I am working in 2 buildings currently, and also working on the district team. Specifically, I'm working on the evaluation component. I noticed at the building level within the first 2 weeks here, how we really need to dig into all our data and behavior. So that's kind of filtering my district level work. I don't like the patchwork pieces. I always go back to what a director told me a few years ago about how a kid shouldn't get a different education based on where they live in the district. So I think if we're moving towards that disproportionality and equity, then we got to look at it through that district level framework and working on both ends here. Happy to be here.
Christina, were you with Medina ESC? You look so familiar to me.
Yes, and I saw your name and that's why I signed up today. So I'm super excited.
Oh, it's good to see you. I'm sorry, I saw the name, but now that I see and hear you, I'm glad you're here.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here. I probably look, I didn't get the coffee I needed this morning. So
You can't tell, you're on point. You're on point.
I appreciate it.
Welcome, welcome.
Good
And Cheryl
morning.
Walton put in there, hey Cheryl.
Hi. Every time I talk, I can't, am I supposed to see myself? I never see myself while I'm talking. It's weird.
You can see you look great.
Okay. So I'm Cheryl Walton. I'm from Cleveland Heights, University Heights. And as I said before, this is my first year in this role. And my role is to just support the whole district with PBIS. And I've been spending the first, we've been in school for about a month. I've been spending the first month just going to schools and seeing where they are with PBIS. And it's interesting because different schools are in different places. So I'm glad that today we kind of focused our discussion on 1.3 and 1.4 teaching the expectations. So we have a district PBIS meeting this afternoon, and I will be facilitating that. I'm glad that you showed the last slide about what we're expected, what our role is, the expectations are, and they do kind of align with what I thought. But I think that as time goes on, I'm learning more about, how I can support the whole district in this work. And I also want to thank Stephanie because she's been so helpful to me so far, and Paul as well. But I'm excited to do the work. I'm excited to just dig in and, just help each school at every level, wherever they are, and move forward.
Thanks, Cheryl. You make the support easy. The district meeting, Paul, I think she's stressed about the district meeting today. It'll be your first one. You'll be fine. You'll be good.
She's gonna do fabulous things.
Great. And really next month, when we talk about team structures, I would love this group to get together and think, how do we have team how is the district team meeting set up? What CHUH is doing, if you don't mind me sharing, Paul, on your behalf, is they're taking the content from this morning meeting and it's going to be the focus of that district level talk. And so the planning work, it really gets removed. We're just adding data to supplement that conversation, but they're all on the same day. So it's just going to be a nice, fresh in the mind and flow down into the building level this afternoon. So it'll be good. Okay, well, I won't belabor the point because it's 10:31, but we're thrilled that you guys are here. I apologize that we were off on time. You never know how things are going to go, but we really wanted to stick with allowing some breakout room time. And Hendrik's information was, of course, so wonderful to hear. So please do that feedback in a bell. We will stay on a little bit if you need. When you look at the slides, there's another resource that you might want to bring. This just came out. Jillian sent it to me yesterday. I think it came out 2 days ago. So this is hot off the presses. And I really like it because it's talking about, as you guys are supporting your building leaders, how important staff regulation is. So when we think about de-escalating, how are we really supporting the adults that are supporting students with challenging behaviors? Because we're all human and that is a factor we can't ignore. So check that one out if you would like. And as always, my email's up there, and our wonderful team here. If you have anything that you really would like as a discussion point, now that you see the flow of it, please email it to us. We're always looking to make this as relevant as possible for all of you. So October 20th, we will see you there. We'll be talking about team structures. And we're looking forward to it already. Okay. So thank you, everybody. Team, anything else before we sign off?
No, thank you. It's been great discussion.
Good stuff.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Bye.
Christina, I'm gonna come find you, and Shaker, I'm gonna find your email.
Oh, I can't wait. I'm the only Delaney Christina, so Delaney _C.
Okay, great. Glad
Great
to have
seeing
you up
you
in
all
kind
this
of the- Okay,
Thank
bye,
you.
everybody. Have a great day.
Take
Well,
care.
great job, SST3.
Thanks,
Good
Paul.
information. Thank you.
I miss seeing you all the time, Paul.
Oh, but you're still here. You get to see me now.
I know, it's only once a month now.
Well,
No,
the
you thought-
SST3 got a good one. Let me tell
Aw.
you. So, hey,
Thought
way
you
to
were done with her,
represent.
Paul, and then she
I
shows
know,
up.
he was so excited, like, yeah, got rid of her. Oh, wait, no.
No, not at all. Not at all. All right, I gotta go, but have a great day, guys.
See you this afternoon, Cheryl and Paul.
Okay.
Thank you, Shantae, for the support.
You're welcome.